Let's talk about workbooks and worksheets. If you remember a couple of chapters ago, I said that Excel files are also called workbooks. Each one of these files that I've saved, which has an XLS extension, or it can also have XLSM, if you remember the chapter we did on opening macro files, each one of these is called a workbook. Now inside the workbook, you have all these little tabs down here. Those are called worksheets. Where do those terms come from? Well, they come from way back before there were computers and people would have to do their calculations on huge sheets of paper. Way back then, what you had were these huge sheets of paper that were divided into columns and into rows, and you would fold them up and then spread them out on a huge table, and that's why they came to be known as spreadsheets, because you spread them out on a table. Now those sheets you would take and put into a binder, which would eventually become like a book. So that's where the terms workbook and worksheet come into Excel. When you have a workbook, it's a collection of worksheets, and these are the individual worksheets. Now to change between one sheet and the other, like I said before, you just click down here on the little tabs. There's other stuff that you can do to these sheets which is really useful. For example, if you want to insert a new sheet into your workbook, what you do is you click this little plus sign here and you get a brand new sheet. Now if you want to delete this, you simply right click it and you select delete and your sheet is gone. Now be really careful when you're deleting sheets because you can't get them back with undo. Remember undo? If I do this and I find out that's not the right thing, I can simply hit undo up here and it gives me back my numbers. But if I do this to a sheet, I can't undo. When you delete a sheet, it's gone forever unless you restore your saved file. So be really careful when you're deleting sheets. Another thing I can do is duplicate a worksheet, which is simply right clicking here and I select here move or copy and I get this window. This is where I move or copy my worksheet. Now let's look at the simplest case where I simply want to copy this into the same workbook. What I do is I select here, move to end, and I check this box which says create a copy. And when I hit OK, I've got two copies of my sheet inventory list. See, down here. They're both identical, they contain the exact same data, but they're independent, of course. If I delete these values, it doesn't show up on the other sheet. So this is real useful. For example, if I have a template for sales figures or some kind of a report, I make a blank template and then I simply start copying it over and over and over again inside my workbook. That's one case where you use this duplicate sheet option. I can also make a copy of this sheet onto a new workbook. For example, if I say, okay, this is the inventory list from last month and I really like this format, so I'm going to copy it into the sales figures for this month. So what I do is I right click, move or copy, and I'm going to select up here where it says to book. I'm going to select new book and I'm going to check here create a copy. When you're copying sheets, always select this box that says create a copy. If you don't select it, well, you're going to move your worksheet into a new workbook. Now that might be what you want to do, in which case you would check here, but since in our case we want a copy, we're going to select create a copy. And here we are. I've got a brand new Excel workbook, as you can see up here, and it has a copy of my worksheet right here. Now what happens if I want to rename these sheets? Because yeah, sure, you can go adding and adding and adding sheets, but it's kind of confusing to see that their names are sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4. It doesn't say anything about what they contain. So what you do here is you select the sheet you want to rename, right click, rename, and you set the name to whatever you want. Now, if I want to change the color of the tab, say for example that I mail this to someone and I tell them please fill out the blue tab. Well, what I do is I go here, right click, tab color, and I select the color. Let's say I'm going to put it in blue, and the tab down here changes color to blue. If I do this to this one with green, it's going to change into green. The last neat thing there is about Excel sheets, you can hide them and show them exactly like we did in a previous chapter with columns and rows. Let's say I have all these sheets down here. Now, it often happens to me that I end up with workbooks that have 20 to 30 sheets in them. You know, things get complicated, you start doing figures and calculations, and before you know it, you've got 20 tabs down here. And you don't want to look at them all. You just want the ones that are useful or that you're currently using. Now you can hide all of these. You see what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the first one. I'm going to click the last one holding down shift. Okay, hold down shift and click the last one. And I selected all these tabs. If I right click, whatever I do is going to apply to all these tabs at the same time. If I press delete, I'm going to delete these 3 selected tabs. Now how do I unselect them? Well, I just click on a tab which isn't selected, and they're all unselected. But getting back to the point, I'm going to select all these 3, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select hide, and that's going to hide my sheets like that. So I only have inventory list and sheet 5. Now those sheets, just like with columns and rows, they still exist, the data is still there, but you're not going to view them down here among the tabs. Now, how do you unhide them? You right click on any tab down here, let's say inventory list, and you select this command which says unhide. And I simply select the one I want to unhide, for example, sheet 2. And there's sheet 2. And once again, unhide this one, and there it is. Unhide, and there it is. And that's how you unhide and hide worksheets. So as you can see, there's a lot that we can do with these worksheets. We can duplicate them, we can copy them, we can move them, we can hide them, we can show them according to what we need to do in our particular workbook in a particular time. Let me tell you, the real secret to being productive in Excel is learning to use these functions correctly. You know, learning when you need to hide sheets, when you need to reorder them, to move, to copy. Learning those functions makes you really productive in Excel. So this is a topic that I suggest that you look into, and always pay attention to what you're doing and realize when it might be useful to hide sheets or show them or copy them or whatever in order to do whatever you need to complete a lot faster. Thanks for watching this video tutorial. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and to visit our website, cubicleoverlords.com, for more instructional videos like this one.